Just give us a second. Oh, yeah. While they're doing that, so, Sarah connected with Will. I heard Will speak last year. He's amazing. His gift is the golden letters. But before he gets started, I wanted to share one thing really quickly. As we go in, we're in the month of love, right? Yes. Is he up there? Okay. Hey, Will, give me 1 second. Somebody said this to me last night, and it really struck a nerve. We all come from a different place, right? How we grew up, all the things. Each person in this room matters. So if somebody hasn't told you today that they appreciate you, that they love you, that they care about you, and that you add value to whatever you surround yourself with, you do. And so just know that. The favorite part about my job is that I get to provide hope for people that are discouraged, that feel like this is hard. We all have hard times. I just want you guys to know that I love each and every single person in this room. I hope that you feel that and know that from me personally and professionally. If you need anything, we have a lot of people out here that are not with this office that are struggling, that feel isolated and alone and don't have support. Please invite them here because I know that that's what we offer and we mean it. Anyway, so that's my love speech for Valentine's Day. Y'all are amazing. Well, good morning.
Good afternoon. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for being here. I don't know. Oh, yes, Sarah is on. Good morning, Sarah. I didn't know if you want to do the intro or not, but I'm Dara. I'm the team leader here. So I just want to thank you again for making time to do this.
My pleasure.
And I'd love for you to just kind of share your story because I've heard you speak before and I know it's amazing, but a lot of people in this room may not. So you've got the floor.
Yeah, and thank you, Sarah, for the invite and great to see you on here. And yeah, I mean, really, we could go a couple different ways. How do you want to kick this off? Just the background or go right into like letters or what do you want?
Yeah, I think it's important that you share kind of your story because everybody, it's very evident how young you are and your success and how you did that in such a short amount of time. I think is really impactful.
Cool. All righty. Yeah. So Will Van Wickler, based out of Scarborough, Maine. Got in this business at 19 years old. I was a college student at the time. I'm 22 now, turning 23 2 days. So been in this business, a little over 3 years at this point, full time. I just did my first year full time in real estate, dropping out of college. So last year I did 42 million in closed volume for over $1 million in GCI. And no paid internet leads, solo agent. I'm the only one in production and run a pretty lean model. When I got in this business, I was a buyer agent on a team. I figured out quickly that's not what I wanted to do. Just wasn't a good cultural fit with the team leader. I did have success. My first year closed about 25 sides, over $100,000 in GCI while going to school. After that, I kind of had a choice to make. I was either going to quit real estate or just go out on my own. I couldn't stand the organization I was in. So I decided to go out on my own and quickly wanted to figure out how to take listings because listings, that's how you last in this business. And I'm not a huge people person. I'm pretty introverted. So dealing with buyers and like asking, oh, how's little Jimmy? How's his baseball game? Driving them around. Like, I just could not do that. It's great if you can. I just do not have the social IQ to really do that kind of stuff. And don't really want to work nights or weekends. So with that being said, I was like, okay, well, how do I do listings with no sphere, no database? Not really like the extrovert, don't know a ton of people from school, and all their parents pretty much have real estate relationships. So I was doing the expireds, I was doing the for sale by owners, I was doing pretty much everything under the sun to work to obtain listings and mild success. I mean, my first year after I dropped out of college, I finished my year and then just didn't re-enroll. And that was in May. And that first year I did about 13 million in sales, but I was working so hard. I mean, I was grinding and grinding and grinding. And I had success. I mean, I made over $200,000, close to 250,000. But it was like, oh my gosh, I'm working all the time. I'm doing agent referrals. I was literally doing everything. I had like 18 different strategies. And then I watched this MAPS coaching video with Gina Ront explaining the simple golden letter as a way to get listings. So I added that to my strategies and I never really committed to it. It was like everything else. I just did some of it and then, I'd get distracted and go do something else. It wasn't until last year when I got a MAPS coach that went through all my lead sources and was like, well, here are where your closings are actually coming from. The other 18 strategies, the for sale by owners, you took 1.5, 2 listings from expire. It's like, hey, maybe I took 3 and 1 didn't sell, or, you know, weird stuff like that. Or like I'd list a house and then we'd sell the lot. Like, just not good transactions, just would not bring me success doing that. So we just decided, all right, let's focus on your top 3 sources, and letters were in that, main bracket. So literally just focused on that last year as like one of my 3 levers, and it brought me a great amount of success. And that's kind of what got me like into the Keller Williams universe. Was I was just the person who was dumb enough to follow the system and not change it, and had, the skill to really convert and run with the system at a high level. So last year, I mean, I probably took 15, 20 listings, and a lot of them really, those are just letters, right? And then the other side is we're getting a lot of investment opportunities off of them. So with the golden letter, the big thing we always talk about is how simple it is. So I was able to do it. I was doing it all myself as a 21-year-old at the time, 22 now, and I'm taking these listings at high-end price points and doing it all myself. I don't have, now I have some deeper pockets, blessed with the income I have now. But when I started, I had no money. I was a college student, and now I've scaled the system up to now I have a, strong business, and continuing to grow it through this lead strategy. So yeah, that's the background. Got in at 19, literally knew nothing, knew nobody. Now I've transitioned and running a big business. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
So how are you running it today?
Yeah, so here's how it works now. So the golden letter, if you're not familiar, is just a very simple MOFR, make offer for immediate response. And it's literally, it just says, hey, dear Sarah, would you sell your house at 123 Main Street to a client of mine? If so, call me on my cell phone. That call goes to an automated voicemail service that has my voice. It just says, hey, this is Will, Keller Williams Realty. Thanks so much for calling. Leave me a message. I'll get back to you soon. It's literally my regular voicemail. I sign these letters at the bottom. We send them out. My business partner's elderly father actually does a lot of the labor for us now. So he's, licking the envelopes and doing stuff like that. We use mailing labels. We have no return address on them. We shoot them out, and pretty much instantly we're getting calls back with people that are like, hey, I got your letter, do you actually have a buyer? Or, hey, I got your letter, we'd sell our house. The magic and the secret of this strategy is you don't change it. You don't change what we're doing because it works. People will send me messages like on Facebook all the time with like, hey, I'm about to do my first round. And I'm like, you messed it up. I saw one the other day, had their logo on the top. It had a picture of them. One of them said, our buyers just lost out on your neighbor's home. Or like, we have 3 buyers looking in your neighborhood. Nobody cares about any of that. I have buyers looking, would you sell your house to them? The magic behind the system is the simplicity. If you're like me, you get mail all the time from like Anderson Renewal or like Marvin Windows with these handwritten things that are like, hey, we were in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. These large companies know that time on task will beat the quick burst of just listed, just sold cards, for instance, right? So someday I'm going to need new windows. I'm probably going to call Anderson because they've sent me mail so many times, or it's the right call to action. So all I'm doing is I'm getting people to raise their hand and give me a call. That's all I want. I don't want them looking at my letterhead or looking at my picture and saying, oh, he's young, or, oh, wow, he just sold at my neighbor's house. You're just creating distractions. So we really just want them to pick up the phone, call. And then the other magic and secret that people don't want to listen to, they just forget this part exists, is the scripts and conversion techniques that are used to get the business from a phone call to a signed listing. So many agents do not want to practice their scripts or their dialogues because it's uncomfortable or it's awkward, or I don't want to sound like a salesperson. That's how I've had so much success, is because, again, I had the time and I just followed the system. I mean, I would literally listen to the Bold CD like a crazy person and just listen to the scripts because I knew I was going to get more objections than anybody with my age. And then also I'd have less opportunity because I didn't know a lot of people. So I wanted to land every single appointment I went on. So I literally practiced scripts for a year straight, hour a day minimum. So that's really how it works, is we send these out, we get the calls in, we convert the business, we set the appointment, and then we sign and sell the listing.
Awesome. So as an objection handler, when you talk to them on the phone, you schedule the appointment and you show up. And they're like, wow, you're really young. And I ask that because we have 2 or 3 in our office that are new agents that are 20, 21, 22, that I think they, have that limiting belief of, oh, they're going to think I'm too young, and no matter how confident they seem. How do you overcome that?
Yeah, just don't even think about it. If you're thinking about it, you are gonna have a problem, right? There's been studies that are like, you know, there was one where it's like, they'd give somebody like a weight loss pill or something and it literally did nothing. And you could see their confidence like skyrocket, right? So if you do the affirmations and you practice and practice and practice and just literally throw that objection out of your head, it's not going to come up. And you know what? If it does come up, I have a an objection handler for it. So like I look young, but if you look at my headshot, I mean I look even younger. I look like 15. I was door knocking one time and the lady asked me if I was raising money for my high school. I'm like, oh my God. And I mean, I get it all the time, right? People are like, wow, you're young, but now they appreciate it. I have a business to back it up. But it literally doesn't come up unless you bring it up or you're awkward or, and I'm pretty awkward, but I know the presentation now. I know exactly what to say and how to say it. And if you exude the confidence, and it's not cockiness, but, Jeff and I, we talk about this all the time. When we go to an appointment, we act like we already have the business, right? And it's people can feel the energy and confidence we have, and it's not cockiness or being pompous or anything like that. We are just so confident that we can help them and we are the best fit for them that they can feel that energy, and there's zero question about it. And have I lost listings because I look 12? Yes, it happens. But I mean, you probably lose listings because of other reasons, right? So you just kind of have to throw that out the window and get rid of that. And I had that limiting belief in my head for a while, and I don't anymore. I mean, I pure abundance mindset. There's people that are going to work really well with me, and there's people that are not going to work well with me, and that's fine. Closings are literally unlimited. So I just go into it with, very confident, have the mindset. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know the objection handlers and scripts to get around that. And people today, they're like, "Wow, you look like you just graduated high school." I'll be like, "Yeah, it's because I did." I'll say that. I'll joke with them. I'm like, I don't. Yeah, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, and I sold 71 houses last year. So I can certainly know what I'm doing, and I'll work harder than any other agent in the state of Maine. So I'll tell people that. And it's like not being smart or wise, but it's just the truth. And I have a clear value proposition. I know my value proposition. I'd say every agent should know their value proposition, and that's what will get you the conversion and success in this business.
Awesome. I saw the chat pop up. There was a question regarding how do you find, Leah, can you read that? Whatever the question is on the pop-up.
It's not showing on the.
Yeah. It's about the subdivisions.
Area.
Yeah, how do you choose your areas, your neighborhoods?
Yeah, it's all off of tax records, and your title companies can help you out with that. And I've developed a full like module course, which I can get you guys plugged into. But I use a tool called Realist RPR. It's free through my MLS. We just pull data that way, and it's super simple. It's really not complicated. And people are like, oh, they'll overthink it. I have an agent Facebook group, and the questions crack me up sometimes. They're like, what's your average, rate about this and that? It's like, just send the letters out. People will pull these lists and they'll see like agents on there. We'll send them to the agents. We do not care about wasting our time picking all this stuff up. We have a disclaimer at the bottom. It says, if your house is listed, this is not a solicitation. We don't want to solicit active listings, but like, probably 10 out of every 10,000 we send will go to an active listing. We just do not care about where they're going. We send them out, we pick our areas, and we mail them once every 8 months on average.
How many do you mail at a time?
The conversion rate we've seen is around like 400 will get us to sign listings. So we just scale that to our listings taken goal. So my business, I'll throttle it, which is what they would tell you probably not to do. They'd tell you just keep going. But, if you're pretty listing heavy, you can maybe keep your foot off the gas. But we're about ready to scale things up as we get out of winter here in Maine. It's a pretty slow period, but spring is when the spring market, obviously kicks in, and we're very seasonal. So we're going to start, hammering them again. We've told Phil, our helper, to get ready. So we're going to start getting the printer humming again.
Nice. Sarah, did you have some stuff you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I guess, do you feel like you've oversaturated the market, or since you've been doing this for a year now, when I say oversaturated, are you now like having to do repeat mailings, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first exercises my MAPS coach did, I was like, oh, I'm so bogged down with like administrative tasks because I had no leverage at the time. And she's like, all right, well, just pull a list you did 8 months or a year ago and remail it. I did, bam, took a listing. So a lot of people, it's like, you got to catch them at the right time. Some people hold on to the letter, but if you mail once a year, people forget, right? Like Anderson Renewal, I was reading some study on like mail marketing, and actually Jeff does a lot of TV ads, and he's kind of scaled some stuff back and pumped it up because of the market. But it was like, hey, if you run a TV commercial once every other week and not every week, the consumer literally does not know the difference. They think it's every week. So it's like, I could mail every single month or I could mail once a year. It's like, they're not going to really know. And honestly, they'll probably forget if it's that long ago. A lot of people know me in these farm areas where I sell a lot. They're like, oh, wow, you're busy again. I'm like, yeah, always have buyers. So there's that. But like, I never really get the like, oh, this is not genuine because I don't do it every single month. It's not like a farming exercise. It's a mofer. So it's about timing. And, once every 8 months is really the closest I would send them.
Okay. And so forgive me if you asked or answered this and I wasn't paying attention, but the objection handler of them calling and saying, well, what is your buyer looking for? Like, how do you get your foot in the door to actually get the listing appointment and pass that objection about the buyer or the price or things like that up front about what your buyer is looking for?
Yeah. All right. So I'll call you right now. So you've left me a voicemail. I'm going to call you. So ring, ring, ring. You'll be like,
Hello?
oh, yeah. Hey, Sarah, it's Will Van Wickler, Keller Williams Realty. I got your voicemail. Thanks so much for reaching out. How's it going today?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I got your letter here and we've kind of considered, tossing around the idea of selling. So tell me a little bit more about what your buyer and what price point they're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I appreciate you giving me a call back. As I'm sure you know, there's just no inventory right now. Just myself, I'm working with 18 different buyer, families that are looking in the area, and there's no homes on the market. So instead of sitting and waiting, I'm just reaching out in areas where they want to be and seeing who might be interested in having a conversation. So it sounds like you've been thinking about selling. Where would you go when your house sells?
Well, we have another house down in Florida that we've been thinking about moving to, but
Awesome.
our neighbor's house down the street's up for sale. Have your buyers checked that one out?
They certainly have, and we're working with a lot of different buyer families that have a lot of unique, characteristics that they're looking for. And like I said, instead of just waiting for the house to come up, we're just reaching out to homeowners like yourself and seeing who might be worth having a conversation with. So would there be a good time for us to meet? I'm not going to bring anybody by, but what I'd like to do is, come by, do some due diligence for the folks we're working with, and then also give you a real-time market number that the algorithms can't even keep up with, so you can make the best decision for your family. Would 3 o'clock tomorrow work?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Great. All right. I'll see you there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
I just
job.
fly right through the buyer objection.
So whenever you actually get there, I'm sure like a big limiting belief for a lot of agents are, okay, what if I don't have 18 buyers that I'm working with? I'm a new agent. I'm just getting started. I have, my best friend, I'm trying to help him find a house, but there's no way he can afford this neighborhood. So I'm sure that's a big limiting belief for agents going into a listing appointment. What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I would ask is like, how many agents are in the market center you're in?
250.
250. All right. So then it'd be like, how many active brokerage agreements are there in the market center? Probably over 3,000 or something crazy. I mean, I asked our team leader, I'm like, all right, we have 500 agents. There's like 5,200 active buyer agreements. That's crazy. It's like finding a buyer is not the hard part. I had one where a lady did not want to go on the market. I literally made 4 phone calls and I found the buyer, and it was actually a real estate agent. I represented them because I brought them a deal. And I don't say that to like gloat or brag, but finding the buyer is literally the easiest part in the market right now. If you're in a market like mine where there's like no inventory, I know there's no inventory because I watched Sarah's YouTube channel. And I see her Instagram about how there's no houses for sale. So I know that's a fact for you guys. It's like, you can absolutely find a buyer. That's not the problem. So I just go into it with the mindset of like, there are so many buyers out there. I just need to secure a listing, A, so I can help the sellers as a fiduciary, and B, so I can actually get a buyer a home. And whether they're my client or not, I don't care. I'm here to service the seller as a listing agent. So I always just go in with that mindset. It's like, finding buyers is not the hard part. And my intention is really actually never to sell a house off market. I always want to get a listing agreement signed to list it. And then if the buyer wants to buy it, that's great. I'll represent both sides if we can in your state, or refer it out to somebody. But it's never my intention to go in and be like, you have to sell off market, because a lot of people are going to get turned off by that. I need to understand as the fiduciary what's best for the client. Sometimes it's going to be selling off market. A lot of times it's going to be getting the house on the market, maximizing exposure so they can net the most amount of money.
How often do you get the objection of we have an agent, here's my agent's phone number, reach out to them, or if we do lists, we have someone that we would use? Does that ever come up?
Not a ton. A lot of times those people will just like have their agent call and be like, oh, thanks, I'll run it by our client. Like, we do not spend a lot of time. Somebody reached out to me yesterday. They're like, what do you do when they say I'll sell for 2 million and the house is worth 350? It's like, I'll go like this, delete. We just don't let that stuff slow us down at all. Yeah. Because it can be crippling. I mean, when I started, I used to get so hung up on that stuff, and it's just not worth the energy.
So you said that you sent out about 400 letters to get a listing. Are you doing 400 letters every week? Or I know that you said that you're scaling that to match your goal, but what does that look like for you and what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, when I took like 12 listings in the month of July. And I mean, I was sending them out like a crazy person in the spring to hit that. So like 1,000 a week, 1,000 a week, 1,000 a week to hit that goal. So we just throttle. I mean, we haven't sent letters in a couple months because we just know like now is not, we're not going to get a return on investment in Maine. But as we get started again, like, yeah, we'll be sending out probably 1,000 a week because we want that listings taken number to go up and our appointment number to go up. So it's all just about customizing the program to how you will hit your goal, and you will not know it until you've done it a while. But I mean, I'll talk to people all across the country that have gone through and they've done it, and they all know their number. Some areas it's way higher. They need to send a 1,500. Some areas it's like 200. So it just depends on the turnover percentage, which you can get through your title company or through a analytics tool. But for us, we found like, hey, we send 400, we get a listing. If we need 10 listings, 400 times, 15 just to go over.
Do you, so like as a new agent, whenever you were starting this, did you have any limiting beliefs or any fear around spending money to send that many out? And is there a certain time period that you would tell someone to try this? Like if they're going to attempt to try it, like if you're not going to do this for 3 months straight, then don't bother. Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the cheapest person there is, and I'll fight somebody who thinks they're cheaper than me. Because I am. So like spending money, like I did not want to do it, but I just knew like, hey, just set a budget and stick with it. And for me, I had success at that point. I was making money, so I wasn't super afraid to, but like if you're a new agent and you don't have the money, I would just say, hey, could you put $500 towards this and do it that way and just go until you get results. And for me, like the first round I sent them, I took a listing. So that average commission for me is around $18,000. So bam, I'm like, all right, take that $8,000, that goes into Will's bank account. Take money out for taxes, but I'll just put the 10 grand towards letters. It only takes one listing a year for me to actually get a return on investment. And that's why the strategy is so big, is because like for Zillow, I've never done that, but my understanding is you're spending all this money and you might not see a return for a while and you're working with buyers. Sellers, it's like you get one hit, done. That pays for your entire spend during the year. So for me, it was like, yeah, I was scared up front. And then it just took one for me to be like, wow, I'm going to reinvest everything in this. And then also I wouldn't do it unless you're going to commit to the system and do it for 6 months, just like any strategy. I mean, how many people reach out to you to start YouTube and they do it for a month and they don't get results? If you're not going to commit to it and educate yourself and practice the scripts and do this at a high level, it's not worth doing. I would stick to what you're doing. But if you're going to commit to this lead generation strategy, I have a guy who does a lot of expireds, took my course. I've been helping him through the process. He has committed to it and he's seeing results. The people that don't win with this are the ones that are like, I did it one time and I didn't get any calls.
Yeah.
I don't know any lead gen strategy where, maybe if you do an open house and get lucky, but there's not many, in the world of real estate where you're going to see instant success. So I'd say give it 6 months.
Yes. God, I had a question, a good one, and I forgot. Anybody in the room have a question?
Yeah, I was going back here, I had a question.
Anything special about the stationery, anything, just white paper, white envelopes, or doing anything fancy color envelopes, anything like that?
No white envelopes, black and white text. We type it out, we sign at the bottom, and then we use an Avery label to get the address on there. We don't even handwrite the addresses anymore. It was taking us too long.
Yeah. So my question is, you have grandpa stuffing the envelopes, right?
Correct. We all
uh,
pitch in though still. That's the big thing is like somebody made a comment. They're like, oh, it must be so nice to have all this help. We're doing it with him because Phil's only so fast. I mean, he's 76 years old. So we don't want to kill him here. But yeah, I mean, we'll do it. Jeff will do it. Kids, he'll be like watching TV, he says, and his kids are running around like crazy people. He's signing letters. So we all still pitch in. But, you
See, I
know,
was
Phil
just gonna
does a
drop some
great
off at
job.
the retirement community and then just go pick them back up a couple days later.
You joke about that. I've thought about it. And I also think it's like, can you pay your kids to do this? Absolutely. I think that's a great way to do it.
So have you ever, since you're trying to scale more, have you ever considered leveraging this out to like those companies that will mail a letter for you? And that it looks like you signed it and that they handle all of that?
No, absolutely not, because we found the cost is so important to us, and that it's like you're paying so much money for them to do this handwriting thing that it's like, okay, people are either going to call you or they're not. They're going to throw it out. So I'd rather spend 70 cents on it than $1.70. And we haven't found any difference in handwriting or anything like that. Maybe if you're going after a very targeted expired, or it's your personal neighborhood, maybe you can handwrite some stuff out, but I still wouldn't handwrite. Nobody's really handwriting nowadays, especially for like a simple mofer. So we haven't. I mean, we've even thought about offering this as a service, which we are doing for some agents of like they pay us and we do everything for them because we just have the capacity now through our leverage here to do that. So we've made the system so simple and easy where there's like no hiccups. We have thousands of envelopes. We're running into problems where we wouldn't have supplies. So we've gotten rid of all the problems and now we just turn it on and we roll.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
More questions?
Just, because he's doing so many listings from this, obviously he's gonna be getting some buyers. Will, are you using do you have a buyer's agent that you're farming that out to? Or are you using people in your market center, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, I do everything myself. So my business is split right down the middle, about 50-50 listings to buyers. So I'm still, very active as a buyer agent. I've just been very purposeful in targeting price points and areas I want to work in. So for buyers, they're typically 700,000 plus. The agent referrals I get, I work all price points for those, but I'm very purposeful when I target buyers and sellers. I am targeting a higher price point. That's the business model I've taken. Agent referrals, beggars can't be choosers. I'm working with a 350 buyer right now, and that's totally fine. I'm going to give them great service, but it's made things easier when I've gotten purposeful with the business I actually want. So for me, it's been targeting the higher end properties. Agent referrals, they'll come in too, but that's how I'm actually able to still service everybody and not, get overrun. I do have showing agents available for when I'm out of town, but I'm still a one-man band. And I did 70 sides last year, and I feel like I could do 100 by myself without needing help. I have no kids though, and no wife, and I work all the time. So
Add a disclaimer on there.
right.
Have you ever purchased any of the properties that you've met with for yourself or targeted any investment opportunities through your golden letters?
Yeah, Jeff and I just sold a flip we did through a letter. We're actually starting to have Phil drive around and see houses with like old roofs or like pretty distressed and like write the addresses down. So we're mailing those. A big one we've done is high sell score indicators. So people with like lots of equity, the software's can tell you. The other thing is pre-foreclosure indicators. I mean, we're going to a foreclosure auction on Thursday. Foreclosures are a big thing that people don't really realize are happening, and pre-foreclosures are great because people have a lot of equity and you can actually get them out before the bank takes the property and you don't have to deal with a short sale or the foreclosure process. So we're absolutely targeting properties and it's not malicious. We're there to help people as a fiduciary. Great example, 76-year-old woman, 2 years behind the foreclosure process. I got her a year rent back and she walked with $200,000 in her pocket off of a pre-foreclosure. So people have so much equity, great way to get listings because they need to sell and we can actually help them. And it's not a big dramatic issue. I mean, it's like, we can get you money and we can find you a place to go. So pre-foreclosures, old expireds, distressed properties are all things we're targeting on the investment side, buy, hold, flip, and then even a whole tail. We'll buy property, take out the trash and relist it.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you kind of have two different strategies for mailing. One, you do targeted letters to people with high equity, high sell scores, pre-foreclosures. And then you're also targeting just blanket neighborhoods that meet your price point or areas that you want to sell in.
Absolutely. We'll kind of do like shotgun approaches. And the reason is because our area and market is smaller than yours. We don't have these master subdivisions. Like I would run out of places to mail within a 10-mile radius of me in like 2 weeks. So I have to go wider and larger. And then we're also targeting different market segments depending on the time of year. We're a strong second home market. So I'll target the lakes in March and I'll target the mountains in February. So it's just moving your approach and then also what your business goal is, right? So big push for me is maybe sell a little bit less on the unit side and then also do 10 flips. So it's just moving that and throttling that how we want to.
So going back to whenever you actually meet with a potential listing, do any of them ever give you pushback of, okay, where's the buyer? Why hasn't one of your 18 buyers come through to see my house or buy my house? Do you ever get any resistance of them not wanting to put it on the market to expose it to that many people because they would only want to sell for the right person? Does that make sense?
It does. And a lot of it comes down to pre-qualification on the phone. So if somebody's just nuts, I'm not going to run the appointment. I say, hey, it seems like you're really comfortable there. Let me grab your email. Let's stay in touch. And if something comes up, I'll give you a shout. That can happen, but I'm not going to waste my time driving out there. The people that don't want to go on the market, a lot of times it's because of a preconceived like notion in their head of like, I had one this summer, beautiful lake house, close to $800,000. They didn't want to put it on the market because it was disruptive to their family. They wanted to use the house. They didn't want to sign in the yard and for people to bug them and do drive-bys. I was like, okay, this is super easy to overcome. They don't want open houses. So then you flip the script. It's just like if you're a team and you're going up against a solo agent, it's like, well, wouldn't you want more people to help you for the price of one? I flip it. It's like, all right, well, great. I don't do open houses because they're a waste of time. And that's how real estate agents actually just work to get buyers. And honestly, I don't need buyers in my business. My goal is to sell your house. So bam, that objection's gone. 2, signs don't sell houses. That's just for agents to advertise themselves. And I haven't built my business on that. And it's really selfish. So we're not going to do that for your property. And 3, I only show the properties myself. And I always qualify and vet the buyers to make sure they are serious. So I don't foresee there being more than 10 showings. And we're going to actually work with your family's vacation schedule to make sure there's no disruption. So I just work around the objections. And I could also flip it and be like, we always do open houses. You just kind of have to mirror and match with people and figure out what's actually going to move the needle. And a lot of times the not wanting to go to the market objection is just because they don't understand something or they don't want something. And it's just figuring that out and digging deeper. And then on the other side is like, definitely have pocket listings and that's great. And I still tell them it's like, maybe we could, we'll try to sell it off market and then we hit a timeline. And if you want to get more exposure, that's great. And I'll still sign the listing agreement every single time. And it's always an exclusive right to sell.
Thank you. So you're obviously really well scripted and great at handling objections. And I imagine that also kind of translate into also having like a really great listing presentation. What did you study or how did you gain those skills as a new agent to have that confidence and be able to handle all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you for that. It's really just ripping off and duplicating of what others are doing successfully. So there's an agent in my market, he's had the #1 team forever. Jeff Matea, mega agent, 19 years in the business. One of my clients got a letter from him. And I was like, wow, he's doing this too. So I called him one day and it's like, can we get lunch? He's like, yeah. I mean, he was trying to recruit me for a long time. He finally figured out it's not going to happen. Now we partner on flips and stuff. We're good buddies. But I just learned from him and like I would shadow him and I would take the opportunity to shadow other people and just learn from them because there's so much we can learn from other people. And like, yeah, Jeff does it a certain way, but I would just see how he does it and then I'd make it my own. And that's what I say to other agents. Like I still shadow people to this day and I'm the #1 agent in New England solo. It's like, you're never good enough. I always want to learn. And I am obsessed with real estate. I will listen to a Ben Kinney listing presentation while I'm driving, like just for fun. I'm crazy. And that's how I've done it is I've just copied like who's doing it at a high level and not copied them to be a ripoff, but like this system works just like what you do on YouTube. Like, if I actually followed and committed to that, I guarantee it would work in Maine. But I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can just go to Sarah and say, hey, how do I do this? And she'll give me the recipe, right? So that's really how I've done it. It's like copy, ripped off and duplicated. Jeff was a great mentor to me on the listing presentation side. And I just committed to the mastery of the systems and didn't reinvent the wheel. I made it my own, but I didn't have to reinvent the wheel.
Any questions from the office?
I got a question? Where's like really quiet?
I'm sure you have been tempted, or maybe not tempted, but have you been tempted to like A/B split test, like send one letter to one neighborhood and then another letter to another set to see which has a higher response rate, or test out different messaging? Or you just know this works and not going to mess with something that works and go forward?
That. And I always ask people when I teach, I'm like, all right, raise your hand if you want to change the letter right now. And everybody will raise their hand. It's so like it gets me every time. People always want to change it and add the messaging. And one person was like, should I change it to say, would you sell your house to a client of mine at fair market value? It's like, no, stop changing it. I didn't invent this. Craig Zuber started doing this 20 years ago. Jeff's been doing it for 5 years. I've been doing it for 3 years. It works if you do it. The temptation is for us to start changing things. And it's like, we're just going to keep rolling with it. For some reason, if the market changes, we would start to do an A/B test, like you said, but we're very big on tracking everything: dollars spent, leads converted, gross commission income in. So I could tell you exactly how many listing appointments come from each round, where we see the highest return, how much time Phil spent doing that. I mean, we know all of our numbers, and that's the biggest thing.
What's the biggest challenge that you're having right now in your business?
Boredom.
Okay.
Seriously. Yeah. I mean, it's like, we were talking to my coach the other day. It's like, I figured out the system that works and it's so boring and mundane. So trying to figure out other things to do. And that's been a big push on the investment side. Is like real estate sales. When you get, I mean, you have a very successful team. It's the same thing over and over. It's so boring. So it's staying engaged and wanting to do the thing over and over again, because once you have the system down, it's like a 9 to 5 job. It's like, I know what I need to do to get listings. Ugh, I got to deal with the seller. That's the big thing, is like staying engaged and keeping it fun.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson for any of us with any lead generation that we do. It's going to get boring, and the success is doing those repetitive things again and again and again, and sending out letters and not getting those phone calls, knowing that you are going to eventually get those phone calls. And that's important for all of us to kind of remember that we all go through this. And that's the difference between people that are really successful and those that aren't. They're just willing to do those boring things again and again and again for the end result.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got
Money's in the
one question.
mundane.
Yeah, exactly. What do you do for yourself personally to keep your mindset at a level that you can produce at a high level, even when you get bored?
It's surrounding yourself with the right people. So like, I mean, Jeff and I, we share an office and he's cranking calls every single day. And it's just being around high achievers, and hate to say it, but it's like, you got to be around people that are better and doing a big business. At least for me, I get the energy from it. We also mastermind and have ideas, and it's different from like being at the office and like, oh, going to see your friend and then talking and then grabbing coffee and then going to lunch. It's like, we're here to work, we're here to make money, and we push each other. It's like, bam, you just nailed a deal. I want to nail a deal now. So it's building your network. Maybe they're local, maybe they're out of state. I'm in a bunch of group chats with people, and it's like, somebody's just like, oh, I'm at 400,000 GCI. I'm like, crap, how is that possible? I need to go hustle. So it's getting the energy you need to do this. And it's all about energy because this job, I mean, it sucks a lot of times. We deal with really challenging people. The market's really challenging. I mean, people are kind of nuts right now. So it's where you're getting your energy from, because without that, I don't know how anybody could do this job.
Mm-hmm. Very fair. Very fair.
And family reunions like a good way to get that burst. Like right now, this time of year, like, oh, it's pretty boring, it's slow. After I go to family reunion, I'm ready to run through a wall.
Yeah.
So it's like getting to those events. I just got back from the Brett Tanner's mastermind. It's like, I was fired up. I'm like, let's go do 10 flips. So it's getting motivated. And that's a great way that I get like a burst of energy, is the KW events. They're at the perfect time. We have one now. So that gets us going for the spring market, and then mega camp. And there you go. End of year push right there. So that's what helps me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Are you on any panels this year?
Yeah, they put me on a database panel, which I think is pretty interesting. I mean, I run a good database business, but that's not what I would have put me on for. So
what does your database look like as far as like number of contacts?
Probably like 250. I run a really large like allied resource referral business. So I did probably like 15 million last year just off of like referrals, non-agent referrals. So like that's the part of my database that I focus on, but I don't do like sphere care calls. Like once you're close, like, yeah, we stay in touch, but I just run a very different database model. So I'm going to be very honest and transparent and tell them up until last week, I didn't even know my command password. So
But
Don't
now
tell
you
them
do.
So speak a little bit more about your allied resources. So those are like vendors that you have relationships with and you're referring them business, but then it sounds like you're expecting them to give you referrals in return. Is that right?
yeah, I learned that from Jeff. Is like being shameless with the accountability of like, we just had lunch with our title person yesterday. It's like, hey, Jenny Lee, like, got any sellers for us? Like, hey, she's like, we're the last people to know. I'm like, I know that, but who would you call if you had the opportunity? Or like, I mean, at the nursing home getting a ICA signed the other day, it's like, well, Linda, like, who else do you know in here that has a house to sell? It's holding clients accountable, vendors accountable, and kind of being shameless with it. It's like, I know how much business I'm sending my lender, so I expect reciprocity. And then the other thing is like my business is actually coming from a lot of consultants. So I do a lot of short-term rental investments. So like property managers where I'm not even really sending them business back, but I'm just making them look good. So I have a guy, Kenny, who runs a data analytics company where people hire him to, find good short-term rental markets. He shoots them to me. And like, I don't have clients for Kenny, but Kenny knows you send them to Will, they're going to get under contract, they're going to find a great deal, and they're going to have a great experience, and it makes him look better. And I make it a part of my process that it's like, Kenny, hey, I connect with your client. Hey, they're under contract. Hey, they just closed. Here are the 3 highlights of the transaction. Great people. I really appreciate the opportunity. If there's anything I can do to support your business, let me know. So I just did a call a couple of weeks ago, checking in with him, seeing what his goals were for this year and how I could support him with that. Magically, I got 2 referrals from him after that for $1 million each. They're both under contract now. So it's like what you feed into people, you will get back. I'm a big like energy guy. And you have to follow the art of reciprocity of just like staying the course and building the relationship because it's all relationship based. And that's why I don't need a database of 20,000. I can get by with like a VIP list of 50 and that will support my business. So it's a very different model that I stumbled into, but it's worked really well.
That's awesome. Well, I've got one more question here. Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, Will, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I've never done golden letters before, so I don't wanna have to recreate the wheels. Can you point me to a resource that would help me figure out the right one that I can just copy and send? I don't wanna have to make it up.
Yeah. So that's good. Don't try to recreate it. If you add me on Facebook and message me, my VA will add you to our Facebook group that we have. We have a lot of agents in there. So that's a good resource. And then if you go to my website, willvanwickler.com, there's a tab that says for agents. The password is 2023. We've got some resources on there. That's a good way. And then if you have any questions, generally like Facebook's the best way to reach me. And if you have a referral, definitely reach out via text. That's the best way to reach me, but I always try to keep them separate because it gets confusing. But yeah, happy to help out and yeah, shoot me an ad on Facebook, send me a message on my personal account. We'll get you in the Facebook group and then my website, willvanwickler.com, the for agents tab, password 2023.
And what areas of Maine do you serve, Will, if someone has a referral?
The entire state of Maine, the entire state of New Hampshire, the entire state of Vermont now. And really anywhere in New England, we will help. And if we don't have the person, put you in touch with them. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We'll be at family reunion too. So come up and say hi. How many are going to family reunion from the market center?
We have 17 that are going.
Wow. That's a great turnout. I think our market center of 500 has like 7 going. So that's awesome.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we will definitely see you there.
Yeah, you guys are great. Anything else I can help with questions wise or?
Any other questions?
No, thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Glad it worked
No,
out.
that's a lot.
Thank you, Will. We really appreciate
Awesome.
it.
See y'all in Vegas. Thank you.
See you in Vegas.